Hi, this video is about a mix of days from the previous 3 weeks fishing. Most days things didn't go as planned. Here I am at Blen Khan with a 12-foot single-handed rod trying to do a bit of dapping. The weather forecast was quite windy, and usually at Blen Khan, when you have a weather forecast that says a gentle breeze, it's blowing hard. But this time there certainly wasn't enough wind to dap properly. So in case you don't know, dapping is about using a line that gets blown out by the wind, and you put a big bushy fly on the end and move it back and forth across the waves and irritate the living daylights out of the fish that suddenly come leaping out of the water and attack your fly. It can be extremely successful. I tried it in 1 or 2 different locations on the water, but honestly I was wasting my time. So I went back to the car and got out the usual dry flies to give them a go. Now then, this is the start of my dry fly fishing, and as you can see in the foreground there's weed very close to the surface, and that weed is immensely tough, irritatingly tough. If you look in the distance, you'll see that very shortly there's a fish show beside my flies. And what I then did to draw its interest is, there it goes, is I then moved my flies a little bit just to encourage a take, which is what I got. And this was a nice strong fish of about 3 pounds in weight, which was fighting hard, but unfortunately decided that its time during the fight was better spent diving around the weed bed, and I could feel it kicking away like crazy, but there was nothing I could do about it. I'm holding the rod directly up and putting a fair bit of pressure trying to get the fish up into the weed-free water, but no luck. I'm hoping that in September this weed starts to die off, which it should do, and then if it breaks away easily there'll be a lot more fish landed. So playing hard, and then that's it, absolutely solid in the weed. I can no longer feel the fish. I get my flies back but no fish. Right, I'll get back to Blen Khan in a minute or two. This is roughly 4 something or other in the morning on the Border-esque, and the water looked quite good for fishing 1 or 2 small flies for the sea trout, but never got a pull off anything, not even a tiny brown trout. So that was hardly a success, but it's nice to get out in the morning. I made a fatal mistake too. I forgot about my torch. So when it came to tying up the cast, I had to use my car headlights, which unfortunately decided to sort of switch themselves off every so often, you know, for whatever reason. Right, here I am on that lovely little river I fish on a really sunny day. For God's sake. But we've been having the heat wave, so sorry, a large number of fish I'd normally be seeing just weren't around. This is a bit later on. I did at least manage to get a fish on the dry fly. It's nice when you see your rise and you cast to it and you get the fish and there's no messing. I was using my 7.5 foot snow bee rod, which is a very nice rod for that kind of fishing.
Nice little brown trout.
Unfortunately, it's the one I had to repair the tip because although it's supposed to be full of graphene that makes it the strongest thing known to man or beast, the tip was very delicate and snapped on me in 2 places without warning. If you delve around my videos, you'll see a video on repairing the tip on that rod. Although they give you a long guarantee, they charge you so much for actually getting a replacement section, you might just as well repair it yourself. Right, another day, during the day, on a running off water, on the Borderesque again. I'd fished down a few pools with wets, and then I did see a couple of small rises in this area here, so I thought I'd come back and flick a dry fly in, but fishing across the current like that, it was almost impossible to avoid the drag. And it's an awful lot deeper than it looks. So yet another day on the little river. I went into a really overgrown section, but there was virtually no sign of life at all, trout wise. I'm using a cane rod here. I've got a cheap cane rod from China. I will do a review of that later on, so I can tell you what I think about it. In years past, that area that I'm fishing has been well stocked with fish. Now at Cow Green, I started the day off with a cast of 3 wet flies, sort of classic wet flies you'd use for brown trout fishing in still water. It did go cloudy, although it's very bright at the moment when I'm fishing there. It did go cloudy and the temperature was lovely, and I would have thought it was a day I would have quite a lot of interest and quite a lot of sport, but I saw a total of 2 fish rise in and I got 1 take. So this is the 1 take on Cow Green. These trout in Cow Green are very much like the Highland fish. They fight out of proportion to their size. You know, when you actually get your fish in, you're always sort of gobsmacked at how small it actually is. And what you can't see there is that I was trying out 3 different sizes of dry fly, and the fish left me with a cast totally tangled up. That kind of tangle that you need to start afresh. Last year when I was fishing Cow Green, there'd been so much rain the water was right up to the bank level. It certainly improves on the scenery of the place when it's like that. Once you lose an awful lot of height in a still water like this, a reservoir, you don't really know where the fish are hanging out. And there's a sort of shallow island appeared in the middle of the reservoir, so an awful lot of the fish could be around that, and without a boat you've no chance of covering the water. Still, it's a nice day out, but not a lot of material to do a nice looking video for you. Sorry about that. So just like everybody else on YouTube, I moan on, please subscribe, tick, comment. Give me a handful of likes. It all helps to get my videos watched. You see how calm the most of the day went. Right, here we've got an actual fish on. This fish was doing what I used to see happening an awful lot in Blen Khan, when it's sort of swimming with its mouth semi-open, just taking a fly and then another foot taking another fly. And I got in front of the fish and just gave it a slow pull, and it mouthed the fly perfectly. But down at this end, closer to where you park the cars, there's still weed, but it isn't anything like as durable as the other end. You get the fish in with a great clump of weed around its head. There was one other chap fishing, where you can just see him over my back. He did quite well. He was fishing with an indicator, and I think he had blobs on or something, and he ended up with 6 fish while I was there. Anyway, it's a lovely setting, I think you've got to admit that. I'm now down at the very shallow end of Blen Khan. Now, 3 times I've been fishing Blen Khan this year, I virtually haven't seen any fish in this end, and I used to do really well stalking the fish over the rushes, sometimes no more than a rod length out, and fishing in water that was virtually 6 inches deep. So once again, thanks very much for watching. Please look at some of my other videos because there's well over 130 of them. Thanks again for watching. Bye for now. Bye.